Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. You know what it is. All right, you guys, peep game. All right, so as we get near the anticipated, I'm not going to say highly anticipated release of Fast and Furious 10 will be the next to last of these films. They're going to wrap this up, but have no fear. From what reports are saying, Universal plans on putting out several spin-offs and possible TV shows to keep the Fast and Furious universe going. But nevertheless, if you look at the history of these films, they started off as basically, streetcar racing movies, and then it elevated and evolved to spy and espionage and all that kind of good stuff. To a certain degree, I enjoyed these movies, but they did get a little absurd with, some of the stuff you went on to see in these films from, hoopties in space and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's just a movie. You take it for what it's worth. But they have been, entertaining to watch these films. And I've seen every last one of these films at the cinema, except for Tokyo Drift. Had no interest in watching Tokyo Drift whatsoever. Now, keep in mind, there have been at least 12 films tied to the Fast and Furious universe, 2 spinoffs, and 10, Fast and Furious movies. Hobbs and Shaw and then Tokyo Drift were what you would call spinoffs. So, once again, the Fast and Furious universe will continue. But as well as how many films have been made, you look at the production cost of these films. Keep in mind the original Fast and Furious, which came out, I think, around 2001, cost around $38 million to make. And now here you have 20 years later and basically a 10th Fast and Furious movie. They're saying this is one of the most expensive movies to ever be made. The budget for this movie, apparently, according to reports, has skyrocketed to around $340 million. And $100 million of the production budget alone just went on salaries. Keep in mind, this movie has a lot of people in it, from, pretty much the originals, with the exception of Paul Pierce and the people that came along, when the third and fourth installments came along. You almost could say Tyrese and Ludacris is like original members, because they basically came along with the sequels, and then they started bringing everybody together. So, like I said before, $100 million alone went on the salaries. Jason Momoa's in this, and then there's talks of possibly Keanu Reeves making an appearance in in Fast and Furious 11 that haven't been confirmed yet, but they're saying it is almost confirmed. There's conflicting reports, but nevertheless, when it's official, I'll let you guys know. So, once again, $100 million just on salaries. That's a lot. Ben Diesel himself pocketed $20 million, and keep in mind that this movie has, like I said, a lot of different people in it. So I can understand. But the thing is, wow, you're spending over $250 million to produce a movie. Now, keep in mind, the Fast and Furious has lost a little bit of its luster. This will be the third film that doesn't include Paul Walker's character, O'Connor. A lot of people thought that Paul Walker was the glue to the whole franchise. I think something left when Paul Walker passed away, tragically in a car accident. I mean, he was gone instantly, and that was unfortunate. And it just hasn't been the same. I know Ben Diesel tried to make up losing Paul Walker's character by adding extra additions, bringing in the likes of John Cena, Dwayne Johnson, and other people. And keep in mind, Dwayne Johnson is not going to be part of this film. Bringing in Jason Statham and all that kind of stuff. Now, I know that Dwayne Johnson was part of previous films with Paul Walker, but, basically to replace Paul Walker, they gave Dwayne Johnson a bigger role and made him a second to first lead, you know, to replace Paul Walker. They gave more screen time, and then they went on to add a lot of different characters. But you're just looking at, okay, you're getting a quantity of well established actors, but are you getting quality as far as the plot in the movie goes? I'll say for the most part, like I said, I've enjoyed these, but it's just to the point. Maybe it is time to just end this. But I'm thinking to myself, wow, you spent $340 million on this film. So you basically saying for this movie to be semi-profitable, this movie just in the States alone need to take in like around $500 million. And that might not be feasible. Now, what makes up for the movie what it doesn't do in the States? These movies do very well overseas. They bring in anywhere from 900 million to $1 billion. So it's still turning a profit. But just for the fact that you spent almost 350 million on this film for a franchise that started off at $38 million. So that's just very interesting. But yeah, that is a lot of money to spend on a film. So kind of makes you wonder how much is the next one going to cost. You got to kind of think with inflation and all that kind of stuff, and to have more of a wider profit margin, you might would want to ask these guys to take a pay cut, at least see what type of money you could generate on the back end. Keep in mind, Tom Cruise made $100 million off of Top Gun 2 because he took a small amount up front and then he took, back end money. And the movie did like 700 million in the States. So that's how Tom Cruise ended up taking home $100 million for the sequel to Top Gun. But there you have it. Anyway, let me know what you think. It's your boy Town Biz. I'm out.